What makes a Filipino a Filipino? What are the necessary traits and characteristics that need to be present in order for a person to be called a Filipino? Are other cultures and neighboring countries have an effect on our modern era? Why is the Philippines considered a nation who has no cultural identity? Have we lost our inner way of being a Filipino? And the most intriguing question of all, Pinoy pa ba ako? Hi, I'm Ben Palingaya, and this is all about cultural identity. How do people recognize themselves as a Filipino? We ask random people about this topic.
Di ba usually sa mga Pilipino, likas na sa atin yung pagiging matulungin?
Kasi kapag, di ba meron tayong category kapag sinasabing Filipino ka, yung natural born citizen, tsaka yung acquired na citizen. Sabi kong ako natural born citizen, Filipino ako, di ba? Kasi from the very start, kumbaga na pinanganak ko, Filipino na yung acquired ko.
Simple lang, salita at gawa. Kasi syempre pag sinasabi mo, kailangan lalaki pa mo yun ng gawa. Ano ba yung mga ibang example? Sige nga, bigyan nga kayo ng example. Paano
Sa ugali po.
sa ugali.
Kung talagang halimbawa, yung paggawa mo mabuti bagay sa ibang tao, na hindi na kailangan halimbawa, hingi ka ng hingi ka ng katupas na kabayaran, hindi ka pag-ira. Kung gusto mong pagmalakikan ka pa mo pinipin, huwag kang gumawa ng yung magiging halimbawa ka doon sa mga
Tapos meron pala tayong tinatawag na adopted na citizenship. Yan yung pumunta ka sa iba, tapos kaya masabi kang Filipino ako.
Yung itong bansa natin, di ba, dala na maraming impluensya galing sa example, western influence. Kailangan hindi pa rin na tatabunan yung kung ano yung mga naging tradisyon natin dito, kung ano yung mga nakaugalian natin. Kailangan pag sinabing Pinoy, kailangan mentally lock in Pinoy tayo. Yun yung
Okay.
Paano niyo po nasasabing Pilipino po kayo?
Masasabi ko na Pilipino ako dahil lakas loob kong pinagmamalaki na may morena akong balat. Na Pilipino ang salitang binabanggit ko. At hindi ko kinakahiya na kung ano man yung kultura ko na isa kaming masayahin, na ang Pilipino ay isang magandang lugar at ang mga Pilipino ay napakamasayahin.
kahit sino naman, kahit hindi ka naman Pilipino, kung talagang meron kang ganito diba?
taso ka.
Oo, the best yun. Pero kung isang Pilipino kang hindi ka rin naman marunong.
Let me tell you the real meaning of cultural identity. Cultural identity is the identity or feeling of belonging into a group.
It is a part of a person's self-perception and is related to nationality, ethnicity, religion, or any kind of social group that has its own distinct culture. To put this in a simpler perspective, this is all deals with the culture of country. A nation can be easily distinguished from another country just by looking at its distinctive tradition. This makes the country unique because of the traits can only be recognized in a specific area.
Cultural identity is an important contributor of people's well-being. Identifying with a particular culture helps people to feel they belong and gives them a sense of security. Cultural identity has also been linked with positive outcomes. In areas with health and education, it provides access to social networks, which provide support and shared values and aspirations.
What could be the sources of cultural identity?
The following is a figure of different sources that lead to an individual's own cultural identity. Each of these can affect different people at different times in their life. These are ethnicity, race, language, social status, religion, sexuality, geographic region, age, health, and social class.
So now we've defined cultural identity and its sources. But what does it have to do in the Philippines?
Confusing cultural identity is one of the major social issues the Philippines is facing at this present time. Nowadays, considering that our culture has been a combination of Asian and Western cultures. As we climb up the social ladder of the Philippines, more Western values are prioritized even if they may conflict with the traditional Asian values that we already know ever since we were children. Confusion in our cultural identity is a result from multiple and different colonialists dated back when the Spaniards took over the Philippines. Our nation had a diverse set of cultures that the Filipinos practiced back then and still being practiced today.
What nations colonized the Philippines? And what are the sets of culture that we inherit from them?
Starting with the Spanish influencers, they dated back hundreds of years ago, being the first colonizers in the Philippines. They stayed here for 333 years. In that time span, we already inherited almost all of the Spaniards' culture and tradition. From their clothing, beliefs, foods, ideologies, and ways of life, one can simply notice a Spaniard culture from a Filipino. When the Spanish era ended, it was the start of the Western or American colonialism. Americans brought their liberalistic culture into our land. They also brought their advanced weaponry, a different set of attitudes and behaviors that soon was adapted by Filipinos. And then there came the Japanese. These colonialists brought many things here in the Philippines too. The Filipinos adapted their language, delicacies, means of creating a business, and ideologies and
different cultures mixing and matching up, it is clearly stated that the Philippines is having confusion in cultural identity. Things involving religion can also be a difficulty in the newer generations of Filipinos, or they will be confused as to what they believe in.
Religions in the Philippines are composed of 83% Roman Catholic, 9% Protestant, 5% Muslim, 3% Buddhist, and the other types of religions.
Not to be worried, cultural identity has some positive aspects in a country too. Sharing and celebrating cultural identities promotes self-esteem and creates a social competence between all young people. Confusion in cultural identity needs to be dealt with so that our culture is intact and alive, so that people from other nations will remember the Philippines, not by the people, but the culture they showcase to the world.